Hello, good morning. Thank you for the invitation and the warmth of your welcome. My name is Dr. George John. Today, I want to show you three seemingly delicate phenomena: dreams, serendipity, and creativity. In Malayalam, it is Swapnangal, Bhagyodayam, and Kriyatmakatha. From a sturdy braid that runs through science and art, through memory and imagination, and through ethics and community, I think you should think of this lecture as a guided walk from the night's theatre of dreams through the chance encounters of the day and to the workshop of creative making. Next slide. My thesis is simple. Dreams reorganize memory and meaning. Serendipity is where the world finds us because we are prepared to notice. If we weren't prepared to notice, it might not make a blind bit of difference. The creativity is the disciplined refinement that turns glimpses into gifts. The arc today is this. What do dreams do? How serendipity works, how creativity happens in the brain and in practice. A short toolkit I will give you, and a closing ethical note, which is creativity at its best serves truth and the common good. Next slide. Louis Pasteur's dictum was, chance favors the prepared mind. I suggest that should be our compass. Dreams widen the search space by recombining experience. Serendipity is the moment a pattern clicks because attention is tuned. Creativity integrates both into something useful, something beautiful, or something true. These are not separate islands, but a tidal flow of one sea, of one ocean. Why study this now? Because the science of sleep has entered a renaissance. Because our attention is tuned, is pressured by devices that tax the very networks we need for insight. Because creativity has been democratized, no longer the preserve of the genius, but a practice open to all with tools, time, and intention. Understanding the triad is not indulgence. I suggest it is a civic skill. What do dreams do? Sleep is not a pause. It is an active cognitive process. I suppose everybody nowadays knows the difference between REM, rapid eye movement sleep, and non-rapid eye movement sleep. These are interspersed in a continuous sleep pattern, and it happens in about roughly 90-minute cycles. During REM sleep, the brain regulates the affect, integrates memory, and runs simulations in imagery. Dream reports read like hypotheses. They are rough drafts of possibilities. where the self rehearses, it recombines and tests without cost or consequence. The strangeness is not noise, it is a feature. Dreaming as a recombination. In dreams, distant associations become near neighbors. The unlikely adjacency, for instance, the snake and the circle, melody and memory, they can unstick rigid patterns formed in waking life. Recombination expands the solution space by relaxing the rules. The next day, we can bring back the rules to re-evaluate the results. Hypnagogia. This is the liminal corridor. Between wakefulness and sleep lies hypnagogia, the drowsy vestibule where novel images and phrases flicker. Thomas Edison and Salvador Dali tried to catch this borderland micro-dreaming because it yields unforced, low-friction associations. A practical note for later. Short, intentional drift periods can be a renewable source of raw material, emotion and insight. Insight is not only cognition, it is affective. The mode. When you see something of an object of beauty, maybe it is a person, maybe it is a work of art, like you would see an entire fresco on a wall in the Vatican Museum of Raphael. The is often a release of tension as a pattern resolves into coherence. Dreams help recalibrate emotions around the problem, taking the sting out of stuckness so a solution can appear less threatening and more thinkable. Feeling and knowing travel together. What is serendipity? Serendipity is not simple luck. It is a skill at the hinge of attention and interpretation. It is three parts. One, a prepared background, which are questions, curiosity, and sparse but rich mental hooks. Secondly, it is a trigger, which are anomalies, misfits, near misses. And thirdly, it is a narrative that makes the oddity meaningful and actionable. Let's look at a quick origin to anchor the idea. The word serendipity comes from the Englishman Horace Walpole's 1754 letter about the three princes of Serendip. I suppose most of you will know that Serendip is the old Persian name for our neighbor Sri Lanka. The princes kept finding by accident and sagacity. That second word matters, accident plus sagacity. Serendipity isn't passive luck. It is skilled noticing joined to a readiness to reinterpret what appears. Let's look at some historical anecdotes. Many discoveries are stories of noticing. A moldy petri dish, a miswired instrument, a failed attempt that turned out to be the real cloth, any of these things. The point is, not romantic myth making. It is to learn the mechanics, what conditions, minds, and cultures make noticing more likely. There is also a sociologist's way to tell these stories. Robert K. Merton described serendipity pattern as unanticipated, anomalous, and strategic. 1. Something you didn't set out to find. 2. Which did not fit your expectations. And thirdly, yet it becomes useful once you reframe the question. That three-step lens turns happy accidents into method that you can practice. The ecology of serendipity. Serendipity loves edges and crossings between disciplines, between people, and between contexts. Diverse teams, open shelves, porous routines raise the base rate for interesting collisions to happen. Because serendipity loves edges and crossings, we can design for it. Open stacks, unscripted browsing hours, cross-disciplinary lunches of mixed background teams, and rotating seating plans. These will all help. Low-stakes poster presentations, where half-baked ideas are welcome. Policies that protect time without a target. Every one of those increases the base rate and the possibility of fruitful collisions to happen. Rules, rituals, and rhythms can be designed to welcome the unexpected instead of filtering it out. Preparedness. Preparedness is not encyclopedic knowledge. It is a sparse network of good questions and half-shaped schemas. This kind of readiness creates more surfaces for reality to stick. Read widely, but also keep a live list of puzzles. Order your curiosity. Preparedness includes the courage to hold an anomaly in view without forcing it back into the old frame. Think of it as a stance of wave, non-forcing, not idleness, but rested attention that lets the thing show itself. In Kerala, there is a saying that captures its active, attentive situation perfectly. It goes something like, Kannmunnil kandadellam kannu chinni kalayaru, which means don't blink and lose what you see right in front of your eyes. Serendipity rewards that kind of generous attention. How creativity happens. Creativity is integration. Divergent processes generate many weakly structured options. Convergent processes select, test, and refine. The art is in alternating it well, allowing a mess, then making a call, returning to play, and then returning back to your craft. It looks like oscillation, but it feels like a flow. A little bit of neuroscience, brain networks. Neuroscience gives us a helpful map. The default mode network, DMN, supports spontaneous, internally generated thought, whereas the executive control network, ECN, supports goal-directed selection and constraint. The salience network toggles attention between the two. Breakthroughs often arrive when the DMN roams, ECN evaluates, and the salience mediates the switch with good timing. Divergence, convergence, and how it happens. Divergence, it generates without premature judgment, invite remote associations, change context and modality. Convergence, it sets constraints, tests against reality, and improves signal to noise. Flow happens when challenge is matched to skill, attention deepens, and self-monitoring quiets just enough to allow absorption without sloppiness. Dreams, serendipity, and creativity. Put the chain together. Dreams and hypnagogia supply unlikely raw combinations. Serendipity is the live moment when one of those combinations is triggered in the world and recognizes it as meaningful. Creativity is the long workmanship that turns that moment into shareable value. That is, the light, the noticing, and the making. Let's look at a few mini portraits. Consider a few quick portraits. How's sewing needle gains an eye in a dream? It transforms the sewing machine. Paul McCartney, he wakes with the melody of the song Yesterday, and then he works it into a finished song. Poincare's bus step insight arrives after intense but unfruitful effort. The problem rearranged itself off duty. APJ Abdul Kalam, the venerable former late Indian president, he spoke about dreams that don't let you sleep. What a beautiful paradox of vision, disciplining wakeful life. There is a common thread, which is incubation plus discipline. I said earlier I'll give you a toolkit. Here is a 12-point toolkit. This is compact, practical, and you can adapt it. 1. Protect sleep. 2. A dream journal. Keep a dream journal. Phrases, images, and not just narratives. Use hypnagogic probes, which are short, device-free drift sessions. 4. Switch modalities. Draw the problem, hum it, and sketch it. 5. Design for anomaly. Ask, what doesn't fit here? 6. Practice generous attention to people and to edges. 7. Keep simple rituals. Go for walks, evening reviews, morning papers. 8. Run small experiments with clear feedback. 9. Teach anomaly seeking in teams and in classrooms. 10. Track mind metrics, the energy, the attention, the mood, So you can schedule divergent versus convergent work intelligently. 11. Build ethical reflections into review cycles. That means matter. And lastly, close with community and gratitude. The social surround sustains the work. Build it could be otherwise check. When something neat happens, note at least one rival explanation before you draw your conclusion. Keep a tiny coincidence log separate from your main notebook. Review weekly to spot overinterpretation. Schedule aimless exploration windows. Visit libraries, galleries, wander around the campus. To counter over-optimized routine, dreams and culture. Dreams are not merely private. Cultures tend to affect them differently. Some traditions treat dreams as communal resources, portals for counseling, moral discernment and healing. Others treat them as psychological ephemera. A contemporary integrative approach respects both. Dream content is personally meaningful, neurocognitively useful, and sometimes culturally generative. As we shift from personal insight into public action, let's keep one thought in mind. A guiding principle from the Malayalam phrase, നിങ്ങളുടെ ശ്രദ്ധയും കഴിവും സമൂഹത്തിന് ഒരു വരദാനമാകട്ടെ. May your attention and skill become a gift to the community. Since this is the Mahatma Gandhi University, it would not be appropriate if I did not include the Gandhian coda. The Gandhian coda is creativity must be morally formed. Imagination is not neutral. It takes a shape. Simplicity, truthfulness, and service can orient our imagination so that ingenuity doesn't outrun wisdom. The measure of a creative work is not only novelty but human flourishing. How it enlarges dignity and care. Or, to echo Levinas himself, the face of the other summons us before any theory does. Creativity serves best when it enlarges dignity, not mere knowledge. Let's correct a few myths. First of all, serendipity is luck. The reality is serendipity equals accident plus sagacity. Luck offers the nudge. Trained attention, a good notebook, and the courage to reframe will do the rest. Next myth. Creativity is a rare gift. The reality is, it is a universal human capacity that varies with practice and context. Next myth. Inspiration replaces perspiration. The reality is, inspiration reduces the search time. Craft does the rest. Next. More constraints kill creativity. The reality is, The right constraints focus energy, and while the wrong ones stifle it. So we should learn to choose wisely. A caution though, humans are brilliant pattern makers, and they are equally brilliant at seeing patterns where there are none exist. Coincidences cluster naturally. Confirmation bias will do the rest. The remedy is simple. Write first impressions, then test them. Seek disconforming cases. Replicate it. Invite a colleague who disagrees. Pedagogy of the unexpected. Education and research can be redesigned for serendipity. Teach your students to keep question notebooks. Schedule divergence and convergence blocks. Grade for iteration, not only for answers. Build cross-disciplinary corridors where methods bump into each other. Put anomaly rounds on the timetable. What surprised you this week? What was different? Make space for the unexpected and it will arrive. Conclusion. So let me end where we began. Dreams expand the canvas. Serendipity points to a promising patch. Creativity paints it with craft and care. If you adopt only one practice, adopt this rhythm. Sleep well, notice anomalies kindly, and work steadily. If you adopt two, then add ethical orientation to it. Ask not just can be, but add to it, but to what good end? The world is noisy. Attention is a moral act. What we choose to notice, how we choose to make, will shape the future. Here is the next slide of references and for further reading. I invite those interested to photograph this or to download it. No narration is needed here, and I'm happy to share a much longer list for those who need it. Here are some references for your further reading. I believe all of you have got a booklet of this lecture. My acknowledgements. Thank you to students, colleagues, conversation partners, and to this university for attraction and the tradition that honors both inquiry and service. May your nights be generous, your days attentive, and your work a gift to others. In Malayalam, നിങ്ങളുടെ രാത്രികൾ ഉദാരമായിരിക്കട്ടെ, നിങ്ങളുടെ പകലുകൾ ശ്രദ്ധാപൂർവമായിരിക്കട്ടെ, നിങ്ങളുടെ പ്രവൃത്തി മറ്റുള്ളവർക്ക് ഒരു സമ്മാനമായിരിക്കട്ടെ. Thank you very much.